Hello again. I'm going to try and keep this meLecture reasonably short, or as short as possible, although I think I'm up to part 2 already now, because you've got plenty to go on with this week already. And also, Tiffany's over there on the couch really freaking out that I'm talking to myself like this for so long. But let's get on with looking at some of the aspects of the delivery and the content of the unit. I won't obviously do this every week, but this is an introductory week and it's probably useful. So let's have a quick look now at some of the content of the unit so far. Obviously you've got the Always Essential Unit Guide that's been up for some time on Deacon Cloud. Please make sure you read that from front to back over the next week if you haven't already. And you'll get further details about assessment tasks and so on as the unit goes on. I'll do separate documents for each assessment piece, so don't panic. There don't seem to be many instructions. That's just how the unit guides are constructed these days, which I think is a lot better. We've also got, from the start, I put up a quick hello from Study Notes 0 document. Have a quick look at that. It's only a couple of pages, just maps out partly what I've been saying so far, and it's pretty straightforward stuff. There are no prescribed texts, so there's a textbook that you need to purchase for this unit. However, I would recommend that you have a think about, and this isn't compulsory, but it could be very useful. We're looking in one of the last weeks of the trimester at Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror, which is a series. It's series 1 is 3 one-hour episodes, but it's a really, really interesting, absolutely fascinating cultural representation of digital media, and it puts forward sort of a dystopian messages about certain things, but certainly highly relevant to today. We will screen one of these episodes in class and have a discussion of it, but we can only screen one, and it really is a fascinating series. So if you want to watch the rest, you can grab some copies. I ordered as many as I could for the library, but if you do want to jump online and grab one from Amazon or wherever, you could do that. So that would be a minor cost to the unit if you chose to. As I said, if you do grab it from the library, just try and watch it quickly, get it back so someone else can get it. And even if you watched it rather soonish, that would be great too, so that when it comes along, we don't just have everyone wanting it in week 11. So there's no unit resources you need to purchase. There will be a small cost related to the field trip. Hopefully you'll be able to make the field trip to the Jewish Holocaust Centre. It's going to be on a Sunday in September. The date's in the unit guide. All the details are still to be confirmed, but I can promise you that we'll have a really interesting event. And I'm planning on getting guest speakers, and there'll be interactive workshops, a tour of the museum, your opportunity to engage in an actual setting where digital media is being employed in really interesting ways. So hopefully you can be involved in that. And I'll also be putting an online poll up just so you can register fairly early in the trimester. So make sure you do that too. And in terms of the absolutely crucial document for this week, coming up for week 1, that you must have a look at for classes, and certainly this will be our main focus of discussion in the online forums, is Study Notes 1. Now this document is quite a lengthy one this week, and I promise, cross my heart, that it will not usually be this long. But there are a lot of things to go through this week, and I hope that it was hopefully useful in answering some of the questions you may have had coming into the unit, and maybe even hopefully alleviating some of the anxieties you have as well. Make sure you have a really careful read of this document this week. It will explain a lot. And it's also got the readings listed there, the essential prescribed readings. It might look like a lot, there are 3 listed there, but if you have a look at how many pages they are, it's not all that much, and you'll get through it fairly quickly. Skipping forward towards the end of the Study Notes 1, just to begin with, just to get us warmed up, I gave some case studies, 3 case studies of digital media in relation to animals. And that's one of the things we can discuss and debate throughout the first week. So it's just to get our thoughts really going about this stuff. What do you think about them? We've got the pet cam. You can buy a small camera to go around the neck of your pet. They're actually not always that small. Do a Google image search and you'll see that there's quite chunky cameras around cats' necks, which is an interesting ethical issue, certainly. We've got the pet cam. We've got dog TV, a cable channel that originated in Israel. It's taken off in the US. It's actually manufactured with the eyes and ears of dogs in mind, and it's for when you leave your dog at home and you can leave them watching TV to stimulate their minds. Think about that. It's a really interesting one to debate. What I thought I would do this week, just out of curiosity, because this did strike my interest, as you probably know, with Tiffany already being in a few videos, this idea of pet cams and dog TV. And what I thought I would do this week is just do a bit of an experiment. I would combine the pet cam and dog TV by filming Tiffany watching TV. So what I did when I left home, I left the camera running. Tiffany's got a couch that she pretty much always goes on, and it faces directly the TV. So I turned it on, and let's have a quick look at what happened.
The rebate is frozen and is frozen actually for a few years into the future.
Judith, I think you just addressed the politician earlier and said they should come to the question. Now, that question was about what you read about childcare workers.
Alright, so not so successful. What I might do is actually I'll just put it up there for the rest of the video, and we'll put it on time lapse, and we'll see what else happens while I talk to you about other things. Okay, so I guess two key issues that I would bring up here are the issues in the study notes of partly terminology, how we conceptualize digital media or new media. Is it new anymore? Should we be using the term new media? That is problematic in a lot of ways. We've got a reading which suggests that it can be very useful, and it has been used in even more recent texts that have been published by scholars recently. So that's one thing I'd really like you to think about this week. I won't summarise readings in these meLectures, and the study notes don't summarise the readings either, so make sure you engage with all the material. I don't want to get too held up on the debate over the terminology, whether or not we should be using new media. What's interesting for us here is why it's being characterised in different ways. Why are some people rejecting the term new media, while others are persisting in using it, and you can see that in various publications. What's most important for us here, though, is what we mean when we say new media. What I'd be really interested in talking with you about, both online and in class this week, is how you find new media. What are your perspectives on it? What's your attitude towards it? Do you think the term new media is old-fashioned? Should, as I've asked in the study notes, this unit, ALC201, be called Exploring Digital Culture? What do you think? Moving on to another theme of the week, if you like, I'd like to talk about Media Studies 2.0 for a little bit. Media Studies 2.0 is an approach put forward in a couple of blog posts initially. One was by David Gauntlet, who I've discussed in the study notes, and another was by William Merrin, who posted his blog post a little bit earlier, I believe, but roughly the same time. They both called this set of ideas that they had Media Studies 2.0, and they wanted an upgrading, a regeneration, if not a revolution, in the discipline, how media studies is taught, how it's conceptualized. Media Studies 2.0 is about a lot of things, but it's particularly about creativity, participation, and user-generated content, and the relationship between those things. And that's the kind of thing we'll be looking at, thinking about, and putting into practice throughout the trimester. As you've noted in the study notes, it's really highlighted that this unit is heavily influenced by ideas of Media Studies 2.0. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we're just going to take it on board uncritically and not really think through what we're doing. I don't agree with everything in Media Studies 2.0. William Merrin is very disillusioned, for example, with the process of the publication of scholarly publications, the peer reviewing and so on, which he discusses briefly in your reading. I think he takes that a bit too far. David Gauntlet also rejects textual analysis in a way that I completely disagree with, and I'm going to come back to that later in the trimester. So don't think that this is the be-all and end-all of media studies, and this is your reading by William Merrin is a very enthusiastically written and energetic and very provocative reading, and you may find that you don't agree with everything in it as well. Think about how your demographic, particularly if you're almost a school leaver, is being portrayed in that reading. Do you actually find that you identify with the digital users or digital creators that are being characterised by Media Studies 2.0. That's a really important point to think about. David Gauntlet has written quite a bit around the Media Studies 2.0 idea. You've got a really useful 2-page summary in one of your introductory readings for this week, and that's been taken from his blog, the address of which is in the study notes if you want to follow that up for a bit of an update on his ideas. Have a look at that, have a read through it, and see what you think. It's quite challenging in terms of how we think about teaching and learning in the postmodern age. Another really useful phrase that Gauntlet uses, and the title of one of his recent books, is "making is connecting." And this really fits in with the Media Studies 2.0 idea. The rationale for making is connecting is really useful to think through, and that's been republished in his recent Kindle book, which we can have a look at now. Gauntlet writes that it is through the process of making that we make new connections between our materials, creating new expressive things. And we'll be doing that partly in the formal assessment and hopefully in other ways of this unit when you come to create digital text in a couple of weeks' time. Gauntlet also writes that by making things, we also make connections with each other by sharing what we've made and contributing to our relationships by sharing the meanings which we've created individually or in collaboration. And you'll be doing both of those things throughout, particularly in terms of collaboration with your collaborative digital media project later in the trimester, about which you'll get lots of details coming up shortly. And Gauntlet also writes that it is through making things and sharing them with others that we feel a greater connection with the world and more engaged with being more active in the environment rather than sitting back and watching. So there's a new conceptualization of what used to be called, for Media Studies 2.0 theorists, the audience. Merrin writes that the concept of the audience is problematic these days, and I note in the study notes that there's been different concepts being offered to conceptualize users and viewers of digital media. Both Gauntlet and Merrin emphasize that Media Studies 2.0 does not simply seek to glorify or glamorize digital media, but it also seeks to examine its more negative aspects. Gauntlet writes in his recent Kindle book that following the participatory and creative dimension of Web 2.0, Media Studies 2.0 is interested in the everyday participatory and creative possibilities of media, as compared to the focus of traditional media studies on professional media consumed by audiences who had to take what they were given. At the same time, it is concerned with the dark side of this phenomenon, where users knowingly or unknowingly participate in their own surveillance by the corporations who often have access to this data. And we'll come back to this crucial issue of surveillance in a couple of weeks' time. So as you can see, there are a lot of similarities between Media Studies 2.0 ideas and the content delivery and assessment in this unit. To take one more example, your reading by Merrin states that Media Studies 2.0 involves the lecture being replaced by the conversation. And I hope that that's what these meLectures will, if not become, at least lead to. And do feel free, as I've noted elsewhere, to post comments on the YouTube or Vimeo channels. It will help keep the Deacon Cloud discussion forums less cluttered. We've got lots of students enrolled in this unit now, so do please get involved in the discussions. It doesn't take much. It might be new to you. Get a profile and do what you're comfortable with, but as I said in the first video, try and go out of your comfort zone at times, and you'll probably surprise yourself, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Media Studies 2.0 is a potentially very useful approach for us in this unit. Bear in mind the assumptions that it rests on, and think critically about both the advantages of the approach and its potential disadvantages. But most importantly, get involved and give things a go. It's great to see some people already engaged on Twitter and have created an About Me profile. For now, and obviously Tiffany is not going to do anything vastly different, I'll let you go, and I look forward to talking to you next week or beforehand. I don't want to get too held up on the... I don't want to get too caught up over... I don't want to get too caught up over on the... Okay. I don't want to get too held up over on... Ooh.
This is why my sister didn't want to come with me. And that's probably about all I've got to say, because I'm going to be shot up in the air by a different kind of device. And yeah. So I guess one thing you want to start to think about in relation to the unit is, why do we really even bother doing real world stuff anymore now that we can have simulations so much? Well, you can consider that and what you prefer to do. Yeah. The main thing is, that you should basically put in as much as you can to the unit, and you'll get out what you do. You'll get in as much as you put out, and only what you put in you'll get out. Oh, there's one other thing there actually, yeah. No. Would it be possible to do another one?